friends, welcome back. I haven't given these questions as 5 marks and 10 marks because any question can be asked in any way. If they ask it as 5 marks question, you write a short answer, and if they ask for 10 marks, you write a long answer. So the first question is, explain the origin of basic education, that is Nayi Talim. What are the main resolutions and principles associated with this education system? This Nayi Talim, it was proposed by Mahatma Gandhi. So the main aim of this Nayi Talim is to make learning meaningful, practical, and life-centered rather than theoretical. Okay. It is basically a reaction against the British colonial education system. This British education system was mainly focusing on rote learning, clerical jobs, and they neglected the Indian culture and vocational skills. Okay. It aimed at all-round development of body, mind, and the spirit. That is holistic development. Okay. The main focus is learning by doing. So it makes sure that the individuals are self-reliant, socially responsible, morally strong, and economically productive. So what was Gandhi's vision? This Nayi Talim was proposed during the Varda conference in 1937, emphasized on education through productive crafts. And the education should be self-supporting. The students learn skills that they can stand on their own feet, and it focused on dignity of labor. So how this basic education is established? It was established in Zakir Hussain committee under the leadership of Dr. Zakir Hussain. Then it is craft-centered education, and this education must be child-centered, activity-based, and socially useful. It mainly emphasized on critical thinking, creativity, and practical skills. Then also this education, Nayi Talim, focused on experimental implementation, that is hands-on learning. Then institutions like Sevagram in Varda, they became centers for practicing these Nayi Talim principles. So what was mainly taught? Agriculture, crafts, and community activities. So what is the concept of basic education? This education is closely linked with life, work, and community service. It integrates academic services, academic subjects like science, maths, language with practical activities. So all this science, maths, and language was taught practically. Okay, the main aim is to develop self-reliant individuals. What are the resolutions and principles of basic education? First, free and compulsory education for everybody. Then education through craft, that is work-centered education. Mother tongue as a medium of instruction. Holistic development of an individual, that is development of mind, body, and soul. Then self-reliance. Then social responsible. A person should be socially responsible, and community awareness also should be there. Then cultural and moral values should be developed. Rural-centric education. And this is the importance of basic education of Nayi Talim. What is the meaning of Nayi Talim and who introduced this concept? So, as we already know, Nayi Talim is also known as basic education, and it was introduced by Mahatma Gandhi. The main aim of this Nayi Talim is to make education practical, meaningful, and closely connected with life. Okay, Nayi Talim means new education, which reflects a shift from traditional book-centered learning to activity-based and experience-based learning. So the Britishers' learning was book-centered learning, bookish learning, only to earn jobs. It was nothing practical. So Gandhiji brought this shift. Then this concept was proposed by Gandhiji in 1937 at the Varda conference. Okay. And this type of education is best suited to Indian conditions, especially aiming at rural life. Okay. So basically this Nayi Talim focuses on learning through productive work, and which includes daily life activities, skills, and community engagement. It aims to develop individuals who are self-reliant, socially resistant, morally strong, and capable of contributing to the society. It aims at holistic development of an individual. And what are the principles? Education through productive work, that is craft-centered learning. Mother tongue as a medium of instruction. Integrated curriculum, that is practical and it is more meaningful. It is contextual and easy to apply in real life. Then self-reliance and character building, community-centered learning, equality and inclusiveness, moral and spiritual education. So Gandhiji made sure that everybody should become spiritual and learning at one's own pace. Third question, explain the concept of community-centered curriculum and its features. So what is a community-centered curriculum? It is an educational approach in which the curriculum content, teaching methods, learning experiences, they're designed in such a way that they're based on the needs, problems, culture, and resources of the community, okay, in which the learners live. Okay, then there is a shift of education from textbook oriented and exam centered to life centered, experience based, and socially relevant learning. Okay, this is influenced by Nayi Talim philosophy. And then this concept, community centered curriculum concept, it recognizes that it understands that community is a rich source of knowledge. Okay, community means local traditions, occupations, skills, cultural practices, and environmental resources. Okay. So basically, the curriculum encourages the learners to observe, interact, and participate in the community life. Then it aims to make education that is meaningful, purposeful, and directly applicable. And it aims to enable students to use their knowledge to solve real world problems. It is basically practical in nature. So in the end, community centered curriculum, it transforms students from mere receivers of information to active learners, problem solvers, analyzers, and they are the contributors to the society. So what are the features of this community centered curriculum? There are three main features. First, local relevance, then community involvement, and asset based approach. What is local relevance? Local relevance is nothing but the curriculum is designed in such a way that it reflects the local environment, geography, culture, traditions, occupations, and socio-economic backgrounds of the community. Okay, students learn in this local relevance feature. Students learn the concept through examples that are drawn from their own surroundings. So it will make it easy for them to understand the concept since they are taking examples from their own surroundings. Okay, it is more relatable, interesting, and meaningful. It motivates the students to learn more and more. Okay, and it gives a deeper conceptual understanding to the students. And then the next one is community involvement. What is community involvement? In this approach, the community actively participates in planning, implementation, and evaluation of the curriculum. And then various resource persons like farmers, artisans, craftsmen, health workers, and elders contribute their practical knowledge and experiences. So schools organize various field visits, community projects, and interactive sessions. So this feature, it enables or it strengthens the bond between the school and the community. So there will be mutual respect and cooperation in this feature. Then what is the next approach is the asset based approach. What is asset? Asset means the strength which is there in the particular student. So this approach focuses only on problems. So this approach basically utilizes the existing strength and resources of the community, such as natural resources, local skills, traditional knowledge, and institutions. Okay. Through this approach, the students will learn to recognize the value of local resources. Okay. Example, local water bodies, farms, forests, or industries are used as the learning laboratories. Okay. This approach promotes resourcefulness, creativity, and sustainability. And it encourages students to make the best use of the available resources. So in the end, this asset-based approach will build a sense of pride and respect for one's own community, which is very important. Then the next feature is real life problem solving. Students will understand what the real life problems of the community are, like sanitation issues, waste management, water conservation, health awareness, and various problems regarding environment. With this, the students will become socially aware and responsible individuals. Next feature is interdisciplinary learning. The students will be able to understand how various subjects are connected to each other. For example, if a student is given a project on farming, so this farming will involve science like soil fertility, plant growth, etc. It will involve mathematics like measurement, data analysis, etc. And then it will also involve social studies topics like economical aspects and rural life. So one topic, so if you take one topic, it involves many subjects like science, maths, and social studies. So a student will be able to understand how each topic is interconnected with the other ones. Okay, so it will give a deeper understanding, creativity, and it will give the ability to think across the subjects. Okay, so how each subject is connected to one another. Then empowerment and participation. It will encourage students to actively participate in community activities, discussions, and decision making process. So which will make the students and which will this will make the students active agents for change in the society and sustainability and ethical citizenship. So it will promote awareness about environmental conservation, sustainable use of the resources, and ethical living practices. And it will, in the end, it will make ethical citizens. What is experiential learning and what are the instruction methods that promote it? So, what is experiential learning? It is a process of learning through direct experiences, active participation, and reflection of the knowledge that one has acquired. It is based on the idea that knowledge is created through transformation of experiences. That means whatever they have experienced in life, they have to transform it into knowledge, making students learn better when they do observe, reflect, and apply. So these are the key points for experiential learning: doing, observing, reflection, and application of the knowledge that they have acquired. Okay. Uh, this David Cole, he has developed a systematic model explaining how learning occurs through experience. Okay. So this mainly focuses on learning by doing. It promotes deeper understanding by connecting theory with practice. And the knowledge that is acquired through this method is long lasting. Okay. It helps in developing not only knowledge but also skills, attitudes, and real world competency. Principles of Cole's experiential learning cycle. First stage is concrete experience. That is, this is also called doing or experience stage. Here, learners actively engage in new experience or activities like conducting an experiment or participating in project or visiting a field site. Okay, it provides real life context. This experience is planned like classroom activities or it can be natural like community participation. Okay, this is a foundational stage for further learning. Then the next stage is reflective observation. This is also called thinking or reflection stage. Okay, learners first they will observe and then the next stage they will reflect on what they have observed, felt, or understood. So reflection will include questioning oneself like what happened, why did it happen, what did I learn. Okay, this reflection, no, it will help students in identifying their mistakes and it develops critical thinking and self-evaluation. The third stage is abstract conceptualization, that is a concept forming stage. In this stage, learners will connect their experiences with theoretical concepts, principles, and generalizations. Okay. So in this stage, the learners will begin to see how their experience fits into broader academic concepts. Then the next stage is active experimentation stage, that is application stage. Okay, whatever knowledge they have acquired in the previous three stages, they will learn to apply it in real life. Okay, so this will increase innovation, creativity, and practical application of knowledge. So what are the instructional methods that promote experiential learning? Project-based learnings, then field works and internships, that is direct exposure to real life environments. Then service learning, that is engaging in community service activities. Then environmental education and outdoor learning. What are the benefits of experiential learning? Let's see some of the benefits of experiential learning. This experiential learning gives deep understanding and long-term retention of knowledge. Students will be able to understand all the concepts very clearly, and they will and they will find it very meaningful. Okay, and then development of critical thinking and problem solving skills, enhancement of practical skills and competencies. It will increase the motivation and engagement of the students. Development of social and emotional skills. It will bridge the gap between theoretical knowledge and practical knowledge. Encouragement of self-directed learning. Then it will promote creativity and innovation. And then in the end, it will promote holistic development of the learners. Explain the relationship between experiential learning and community engagement with suitable example. So these both are very much closely related to each other. So they mm, they are closely interconnected concepts that make education practical, meaningful, and socially relevant. Okay, so this experiential learning focuses on learning through direct experience. Okay, whereas community engagement will involve active participation in community life and day to day activities. Okay, when both of them are combined, they create opportunities for learners to apply classroom knowledge in real life social context. Okay, so this relationship between experiential learning and community engagement is mainly used in educational practices like Nayi, Talim, where the education is mainly rooted in community life, productive work, and real life experiences. Okay, so it will transform students. This uh, integrated approach will transform students into active learners and responsible citizens rather than passive recipients of knowledge. What is the relationship between experiential learning and community engagement? So first one is learning through real life context. Okay. Next one is application of theoretical knowledge in real life situations. Okay. Uh, Development of social responsibility. Students will become more aware of social issues. Okay. That are faced by the people in the society. Okay. Then skill development through participation. Okay. When the child participates in social activities, his skills also will get developed, like communication, leadership, problem solving, etc. So some of the examples and the educational significance. So first example is village resource mapping. So what is village resource mapping? Identifying local resources like water sources, crops, and occupations of various people and applying geographical and social knowledge on them. And cleanliness drives and school gardening projects, adult literacy programs, etc. Then what is the educational significance? So it makes the learning realistic, relevant, and application oriented. It bridges the gap between the school and society, and it develops active citizenship, democratic values, and social awareness. It encourages lifelong learning and it makes the students self-reliant, and it encourages community participation. Okay, it makes the learners to be responsible individuals, which is very useful for the nation building. Discuss the role of teacher in experiential learning. So teacher has the major role in this experiential learning. So teacher's role will undergo a significant shift from being traditional instructor or mere knowledge provider to facilitator, guide, and co-learner. So teacher is also a learner along with the students. Instead of simply delivering content, the teacher creates opportunities and creates environment for the students to learn through experience, exploration, reflection, and application. Okay. So teacher provides meaningful learning experiences and guides the students through the learning process. So in this experiential learning, teacher's role is secondary, student's role is major. Okay. Student-centered approaches. The teacher will follow student-centered approaches. Okay. Teacher acts as a mentor, motivator, and organizer. So teacher's role is a role of a guide. So what is a teacher's role? Teacher is just the facilitator of learning rather than delivering lectures. She will just create environment for learning and development of students. Teacher is the designer of learning experiences. Teacher is a guide and mentor, and she is the promoter of reflection. Like she will ask reflective questions. She will make the students ask themselves reflective questions like what did you learn? Why did this happen? How can this happen? This will increase critical thinking and deeper understanding of the subject. Teacher is the evaluator of learning. Okay. She will use various techniques like observation, project works, presentations, and practical tasks to evaluate. That is to know how much the students have learned and understood. Teacher is a motivator and encourager. Okay. And teacher is a connector between theory and practice. She will make sure that whatever theory she has taught in class is shown practically to the students. Promoter of collaboration and social skills. Collaboration is a very important aspect. Like collaboration, like group work, discussions, cooperative learning activities, etc. Supporter of individual differences. In a class, many students are present. Students with different kinds of students are present. So teacher will identify all those differences and act accordingly. Explain the role of learner in experiential learning. Previously, we have seen the role of teacher. Now, what is the role of learner? Okay. Learner occupies the main role. Okay. Main role and main and active role in this experiential learning. Okay. Learner is directly involved in experiences, active participation in various activities, and reflects on those experiences and applied the gained knowledge in his real life. Okay. Learner is considered as the constructor of the knowledge, constructor of his own knowledge. That means he will gain knowledge by himself, meaning they build their understanding through interactions with environment, peers, and real life situations. That means they will build their own knowledge through all these techniques like interaction with the environment, peers, and real life situation. Okay, that is they are the constructor of their own knowledge. Okay, it is there. This experiential learning is a shift from teacher-centered education to learner-centered education. So through this experiential learning, the learner becomes independent, self-motivated. He becomes curious and responsible for his own learning journey. So what is the role of learner? He is an active participant. He is explorer and discoverer of knowledge. He is a reflective thinker. Okay. Then he is a problem solver and decision maker. So whatever decision he is taking, he will be answerable to it. Collaborator and a team member. Then he is a self-directed learner. That means he constructs his own learning journey. Application of knowledge. He applier of knowledge. Okay. So whatever knowledge he has gained, he will apply it in his real life situations. Then creative and innovative thinker, and he is a responsible and reflective citizen. So what is the role of school management community, SMC, in school and community engagement? So it is a key institutional mechanism which was this SMC was established under the Right to Education Act in 2009. The main aim of this SMC is to decentralize governance. What is decentralized governance? It means that transfer of power from a central organization to local bodies in order to empower those local bodies, and community participation in school education. Okay, so this SMC mainly consists of parents, who are the majority members, teachers, elected representatives of local authority, and community member. Okay, this is mainly established to improve the quality of education and connect community and school. Okay, so it will transform school into community centered institution. So what is the main, what is one of the main reason to start this SMC is it will act as a watchdog and a support system, and it will ensure proper implementation of the government schemes like child rights, educational policies, etc. So it will act as a watchdog basically. So what is the role of SMC in school and community engagement? So first thing is it helps in preparation of school development plan. Okay, the school development plan is nothing but it acts as a roadmap for academic and infrastructural growth of the school. Then it helps in monitoring of school functioning and quality. Very, very important. Okay, quality of the school should always be maintained. So it includes attendance of teachers and students, classroom teaching, midday meal implementation if it is a very uh, poor children's school, and discipline in the school. Then policy formulation and participatory decision making. So SMC involves in framing school level policies, rules, activities and plans. It also involves in budgeting, financial planning and accountability. That is, it supervises the utilization of the school funds like grants received from the governments and various sources appropriately. Raising awareness and community mobilization, then enhancing holistic development of students, promotion of inclusion, equity, and social justice. And then the final one is strengthening school and community relationship, which is very important. What is the role of PTA, Parent Teacher Association, in the school and community engagement? Previously, we have seen SMC. Now, this is PTA. So, what is Parent Teacher Association? It is an important organization that brings together parents and teachers to work collaboratively for the overall development of students and the school. So, it is a platform for communication, cooperation, and mutual understanding between the school and the families. So what is the role of PTA? It bridges the gap between parents and school. It promotes parental involvement in education. It supports inclusive education and raising awareness among the community. Next one is improving learning outcomes. Then mobilizing community support and resources. Okay. Then enhancing student discipline and behavior. Then strengthening school and community relationship. What is the role of self-help groups, SHCs? So we have seen till now we have come across three acronyms like this: PTA, Parent Teacher Association, SMC, School Management Community, and SHC, Self-Help Groups. So what are self-help groups? They are small voluntary groups of people, primarily women from similar socio-economic backgrounds. So all these women who come together are from the same socio-economic backgrounds, who promote savings, mutual support, and collective development. Okay, they are powerful agents of social change, education, and community development. They play a significant role in strengthening the link between the school and the community, especially rural and marginalized areas. So they contribute in improving school participation, student welfare awareness, and local development activities. They actively support government programs, child welfare schemes, health initiatives, and other educational campaigns. They are the catalyst for the educational improvement and holistic community engagement. So what is the role of this self-help groups? Health and nutrition support, informal education, and Nayi Talim integration. So informal education for people who cannot attend formal schools. Okay, and Nayi Talim integration in the educational policies. Then SHGs and local governance for child services. So they help in they monitor child welfare programs, student infrastructure, enrollment drives. That is, they make sure that all the students are enrolled in schools. Okay. Then they act as a catalyst for community development. Okay, catalyst in the sense something that is making sure that the process is happening quickly. Okay, they promote social awareness, women empowerment, financial independence of women, and then collective decision making. They also address issues like child labor, school dropouts. They make sure that people retain in school, gender equality, early marriages, etc. Then what are the examples of self-help groups? Kutumbashri, that is implemented in Kerala, and Jivika, that is implemented in Bihar. What is the role of panchayats in community development and service? So what are panchayats? They are local self-government institutions. They are which are functioning at the village level. They are playing a crucial role in grassroots democracy and decentralized governance. I have already said what is the meaning of decentralized government. That is transfer of power from the central to the local bodies in order to empower those local bodies. Okay. This panchayats, they are established under the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act in 1992. They implement programs for economic development and social justice. Okay, they address the local needs, problems, and aspirations of the people. They play a vital role in promoting the community participation, inclusive development, and public welfare. They contribute to the school development, infrastructure improvement, awareness generation, and implementation of the government schemes in the villages. So these panchayats are mainly situated in the villages for the development of villages. So what is the role of panchayat in community development service? First, in education and infrastructure management. Next, in role in community participation and awareness. So they make sure that every village individuals participate in community activity and they raise awareness regarding education, literacy, health, and sanitation. Then role in vocational and skill development activities. Okay, they make sure that everybody in the village is having this vocational education and the education that is responsible for development of their skills. This will reduce unemployment and promote self-reliance in rural population. Then integration with rural development programs. Government has come up with many schemes which benefit the rural areas, and they ensure that the benefits reach the eligible individuals. That is, whoever individual is eligible for that particular benefits, they are reaching them and the communities effectively and transparently. Okay, programs like MNGREA, Swachh Bharat Mission, education related schemes are implemented in villages through panchayats. This integration help in achieving holistic development of the community. Okay, so basically this point aims at uh, all the government schemes should reach the village level. Promotions of values and citizenship education even in villages. Support for inclusive and sustainable development. What is the meaning of resource mapping and how does it help in community or village development? So what is resource mapping? It is a systematic process of identifying, analyzing, and documenting the available resources which are present within the school, community, or the villages. So what are these resources? They include natural resources like land, water, forest, human resources like skills and knowledge, physical resources like buildings, roads, and social resources like institutions and organization. So this resource mapping will help in understanding the strength, the potential, and the opportunities that are available in a particular area rather than focusing on only problems or deficiencies. So it aims at identifying the strength of a particular area. Okay. So resource mapping is widely used in education, especially in Nayi Talim education. Okay, it promotes active participation of students, teachers, and community members, and it enhances sustainable development, self-reliance, and community empowerment. So what are the objectives of and importance of resource mapping? First, understanding what are the available local resources and understanding their potential. Supporting various educational activities. It makes learning more practical, activity based, and real life connects education to real life situation. It promotes a sustainable development and it encourages community participation and it facilitates planning and decision making based on the available resources. So what are the steps in resource mapping? First step is preparation. So first we will define what are the objectives and purpose of resource mapping. So why are we going to map the resources is the first phase. Then second phase is mapping of school resources. Okay, we will start with by mapping the school resources. like classrooms, laboratories, libraries, playgrounds, etc. Then mapping community and village resources like water bodies, agricultural lands, forests, roads, health centers, markets, and skilled persons. People are also resources. Then creating a resource map. Okay, using various techniques like charts, diagrams, or maps, we will represent the identified resources. Okay, then linking resources to the curriculum. This is very important. So integrating the identified resources into the teaching learning activities is the final step. So mention a few projects of resource mapping in Nayi Talim inspired projects across India. So government has taken up many projects to connect classroom knowledge with local realities. So some projects which are inspired by Nayi Talim are Lok Bharati, that is present in Sanosara, Gujarat. Okay, so you can go through what is the project activity, what are the resources identified in that particular area, and the outcome. Then the next one is Nayi Talim Center Sevagram Wardha, that is Maharashtra. What they have taken up is what project they have taken up is community resource documentation. And what is the activity, resource, and outcome is present here. You can go through. Then Vidyodaya School, Gudalur, Tamil Nadu. Then Nayi Talim School, Chota Udaipur, Gujarat. Then Barefoot College, Tilonia, Rajasthan. Anand Niketan, Wardha, Maharashtra. So what are the various Nayi Talim inspired resource mapping projects that are taken up in our Telangana? That is SCERT, Telangana Nayi Talim Pilot School, Mahbub Nagar District ZPHS Rural School Project, Karimnagar Eco Club and Nayi Talim collaboration, Warangal Tribal Ashram School, Usmania University Department of Education has also taken up this mapping projects, resource mapping projects. How does Nayi Talim education support in helping local occupation in rural areas? So, Nayi Talim aims to integrate education with local life, culture, and occupation. Okay, especially in the rural areas where livelihoods are connected with agriculture, crafts, and traditional skills. Okay, the conventional education is very theoretical, but Nayi Talim focuses on practical, skill-based, and work-centered learning. Okay, so it strengthens the local occupations, preserves the indigenous knowledge, and promotes sustainable rural development. So how does it support local organization? It helps in preservation of indigenous knowledge, that is the traditional knowledge and skills. It promotes self-reliance and livelihood skills. And then contextual and experiential learning. Contextual means learning which is associated with the livelihood or the daily activities of people. Then strengthening school community relationship. Then it fosters entrepreneurial mindset from a young age. Then it supports local economy and sustainable development. It aligns with the national and global goals. Entrepreneurship training and skill integration, and it reduces rural to urban migration. When rural areas are strengthened, they will not migrate to urban areas. So the main aim is to reduce the rural to urban migration. What are some of the examples of how Nayi Talim education supports local occupation in rural areas? So, it is a learning through productive work, dignity of labor, self-reliance, and integration of intellectual, physical, and moral development. Okay, it transforms students from passive learners into active participants. Okay, we have seen what is Nayi Talim before. Now we will go to the examples. So, what are the examples? Anand Niketan Nayi Talim School in Wardha. Okay. Then Lok Jambish project, which is there in Rajasthan. Then Barefoot College, Tilonia, Rajasthan. Then Vidyodaya School, Gudalur, Tamil Nadu. Telangana Nayi Talim implementation, that is government schools from 2018 to 2020. Okay, in Telangana also Nayi Talim schools have been established. Then additional analytical insights. So with bridges education and employment, value addition to traditional occupations. Then development of entrepreneurial skills, reduction of rural urban migration, and promotion of sustainable and eco-friendly practices.